For those of you who don't know me, although I think most of you do, I'm Sue Collar. I'm the pastor of First Presbyterian Church, and this is kind of our first foray into a multi-series class on Zoom. And given all that has been going on in our world, not just this last week, but for a whole lot longer, we've been talking about having a class where we learn how to talk with people who think differently than us, how we learn to work through issues of communication and relationships, especially in a divided world. And so our world seems divided enough, it's worthwhile to have these conversations. Bill Michener is the executive director of the Lighthouse, and he's going to be leading our 4-week class. And he has experience and training in the area of restorative justice. And Bill, I hope you'll tell us just a bit more about that. And from what I understand, that's kind of the foundation for the class that he's going to be teaching for the next 4 weeks. Do keep a hold of your login Zoom information, because that is going to be the same thing for all 4 weeks. But if you lose it, you could always email me and I'll dig out a copy of and send it back to you again. So on that note, Bill, I think I'm going to keep hosting for just a little bit longer, and but why don't you go ahead and get started? In a couple minutes, I'll give hosting to you and let you take over from there.
Fantastic. So tonight we're going to start out, of course, with a little bit more introductions, because I don't know all of you. Some of you I do know, some of you I know very well. So I want you to start out tonight by, one, telling me your name, telling us what you really want us to know about you, so just a few words, and then lastly, one word that tells me how you're feeling coming into tonight. And so I'll start, because I do want you to know who I am. I'm Bill Michener. She did tell you I was the executive director of Lighthouse. However, I have a very extensive background in restorative practice, and restorative justice practices is a passion of mine, and I've been doing this for about the last 8 years. I am now nationally licensed with 2 different organizations. One is IIRP, which is the International Institute of Restorative Practices, and Restorative Solutions out of Colorado, which is a foundation that does a lot of restorative work through juvenile justice, the schools, and that type of stuff. As of today, I have started my own business of restorative practice. So as of today, my new business is called the Michener Institute of Restorative Justice Practices. So that's official, and I'm super happy I got word today. And my one word that I'm coming into today is excited. So let's go ahead and start with Mary Sue, because she's first on my screen.
And unmute. So I'm Mary Sue, and I'm a big fan of Lighthouse and Bill Michener and his wife, Michelle. So that's the piece I want you to know about me. And my one word is, it's really hard for one word. So I'm very eager, very interested in this information.
Great. So next on my screen, thank you, Mary Sue, is Linda.
I'm Linda Brodzik. I don't think there's anything particular I care that you know about me or don't know, so I have nothing to add there. I'm interested. My one word would be I'm very interested.
Thank you, Linda. How about Judy?
I'm Judy Luthi. I'm an introvert, I guess, and I'm relaxed.
Thank you, Judy. Pam, you're next on my screen.
Okay, I'm Pam Carrier, and I have various challenges in my life, and I'm looking forward to learning. So I guess my one word is learning what Bill has to say and how I can apply it.
Thank you, Pam. Brian, you're next up.
Brian Faulkner, I'm the music director here at First Presbyterian. I guess after watching the news tonight, I guess I would use the word concerned. How's that?
Thank you, Brian. Okay, so I see C. Lloyd, so I have two people. So
C.
I'm the C, Cindy, and let's see, Cindy Lloyd is my name. And then you wanted something, you guys, something you wanted to know about me? Was that the next thing?
yep.
I'm very, very shy, and as you noticed, a lot of people there started to laugh. I am very energetic and excited about family, but I consider family not just to be, well, it is my husband Russ and my mom and our kids, but it's all of you, my church family, and that my Sunday school kid family. So I feel like this can really be helpful in different kinds of situations. How am I feeling today? I'm feeling fantastic. I had my first day at the gym today. I just joined a gym and I had a trainer and I'm like pretty excited. So, woo.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy.
Well,
And then Russ.
I'm the other half of the C. Lloyd. I'm Russ Lloyd. Because I would say, well, a 30-year career and now beyond that, and about so almost 40 years of my adult life, I've dealt with conflict, I guess I would say. Currently, I'm with LPS and working with kids, and it seems kind of a new phrase that has been introduced at the schools, at least this year, restorative justice. So I guess the word I would use is I feel hopeful, because this is something I think maybe there's ideas of this naturally I've used over the years in a process, but I would like to define it better, and I'm hopeful that it's something that could be used work-wise, family-wise, friend-wise, and everything. So to help relationships and help people do better.
We
Great,
don't
thank you.
know in our
Now,
marriage.
Cindy doesn't need me to do that.
We don't need it in our marriage.
I might need a little. I don't know.
Of course not. Thank you, Cindy and Russ. Mary, you are next up on my list.
And you're muted.
My name is Mary. I'm a longtime first presser. I don't live in Lincoln right now. I live in Kansas, but I know Terry and Russ and Cindy and Judy and Brian and Sue and Linda, anybody. I guess my one word would be curious.
Great, thank you, Mary. Julie, you are next up. Julie, you're muted still.
It's been a long week. Julie Giles Hop. I used to work at First Pres Lincoln. I'm a member at First Pres Nebraska City. I guess the thing I'd like you to know is I have a brand new grandson. His mom is doing better, but she had some serious medical issues, so I'm a little stressed and I'm just a trifle anxious.
Well, congratulations and sorry to hear. And you're in the right place for some prayers going up for healing. So thank you for sharing, Julie. Terry, you're next up.
I'm Terry Sherman. And what you might want to know about me, I still work full-time out in the world. I'm active in Presbyterian Women. And Russ took my word. I was going to say hopeful for the future.
Thank you, Terry. Jerry, you are next up.
Hi, people might recognize me from singing in choir. I'm a semi-retired nurse. I'm actually a COVID tracer right now. And my word is, Mary stole my word, is curious, because I just finished Waking Up White, and there was just a little section on this in there. And so I was like, oh, this is just going to be perfect.
Thank you, Jerry. Sally,
Yeah, I'm new to Zoom, so.
You're doing good, Sally. You're doing good.
Okay, am I coming? Can't tell if I'm coming through or not. I'm in Illinois. The only one of you that I know is Sue, well, and Linda. And I recognize a lot of you because I watch your church service every Sunday morning. So I recognize a lot of you, but of course you don't know me. But here's the children's sermon and so forth. So anyway, I'm here and I'm a very senior citizen, and so I'm a little nervous, but I'm also very interested.
Well, we're excited to have you, Sally, and I will echo what Sue said. You're doing a very fantastic job with Zoom. Thank you for sharing. Maggie?
My name is Maggie, and like Terry, I still work full-time out in the world, work in healthcare. And between Mary and Pam, curious and whoever said anxious, that would be my words for today.
Great, thank you. And then, of course, I cannot leave Sue out. Sue has to have an opportunity to share at least the word coming in, right? I mean, we all know Sue, but.
Yeah, so I don't know that I have anything else to add there, but, and just a word, you can't steal somebody else's words. Nobody owns the words, so you're okay. And actually the word that came up for me was the same one that you used, Bill, excited. I'm excited about what I'm going to learn in this class and excited to have so many take part in it.
I'm too. This is fun. To be honest with you, this is what really gets me all riled up. I absolutely love trainings and being a part of people's lives and challenging and doing those type of things. So let's see if I can get my share screen up. Disabled, cannot. Sue, it will not let me share my screen. Did I lose Sue? Did you guys lose me?
No.
No, sorry, my computer's just been a little temperamental, so.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't me. I do have a PowerPoint that I'm gonna pull up here in a second. That'll really get us started. So tonight, I'll let you know kind of what we're gonna do tonight. Tonight, we're gonna really dive into one of the aspects of just starting to learn the language of restorative justice practices. Learn where we stand with our own walk with restorative, because restorative really is just a way of working with people and participating in this world in a different way by giving everybody the opportunity for fair process and have a voice.
There you go.
So now we can start this. So I'm calling this training Love through Restorative Practices. And I see love as living one's values every day. So by the end of today, I'm going to give you some easy homework to go home. So when we come back next week, we can talk about how we've navigated that. So by the end of all 4 trainings, you'll be able to describe the key concepts of restorative practice. You'll reflect on how restorative practice may impact you professionally and personally. And so I heard a couple of you say, I still work full-time in the world. This really should go through everything that you do. Every part of your life Restorative practice, if you use these principles, will help you have deeper relationships and a better understanding together through less conflict. It doesn't eliminate conflict. It just allows people to feel like they're a part of a process where they feel heard and cared about. And that's really what's important. As Christians, we're trying to feel and exude that Christian love. We want to be out there helping people feel like they're a part of something special. You'll be able to apply the restorative practices continuum, and we'll get into all of this much later. We will not get into this tonight. This will be later in the training. And then ultimately, we're going to live a more loving Christian life. I think that's the ultimate goal. It's the ultimate goal for me. That's really part of the reason why I got involved with restorative justice practices, is because it gives me that opportunity to truly love in a different way and take my ego out of things. And one of the things about ego I'll get into later too. So we're going to jump right in. So as small groups, I'm going to break us into small groups. And in your small groups, I want you to think about together and discuss what 4 values, and I thought 4 was a nice round number, 4 values you want to live every day. So what are those values that you want to live every day? So when I break you up into those groups, I just want you to think about what those 4 values are and then share them in the small group. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can get us into breakout rooms. And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 of us.
And Bill, there should be one more person joining you.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and admit.
I think Jane is trying to get on, but I don't know if she's on yet.
Yeah, I don't see anybody in the waiting room right now.
She was on for a brief moment, then she fell off. She's having trouble with her.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. So your task is in your breakout room. I want you to think of the 4 values that you would like to live every day. So I'm going to create the breakout rooms right now. Perfect. So I'm going to send you to your rooms. And we're gonna only do this for, I think, about 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. So because we want to keep it moving along. So, and here we go. You guys came right back.
We are efficient, Bill. We had our values top of mind.
Oh, we did? We
Yeah.
still had time? Oh, I got all excited. Sorry.
You had time.
Mm-hmm. that's fun. Now, see, I'm not sure if it let you.
I think we're almost all back.
What's that? Oh, that only shows one. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, that they get more people. Nice.
Looks like we're all, I think we're all back. I think, well, we
Sherry?
might be missing one.
Sherry.
I'm on, Pam.
Okay.
Oh, Sherry,
I
hi.
think we're good.
Stop that and make for sure we don't have any more in the waiting.
I had the ticket, but I didn't have the Zoom invite because I never opened the ticket till tonight. Probably should have looked at it.
That's okay. We got you on.
You done? Are you done?
Okay, who would like to share common threads from each of your groups?
Oh, common threads.
Because
Go
I
ahead,
know-
Julie. Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, we started out with compassion, which is close to love, we feel, honesty, family, respect, and living our lives as a Christian.
Okay. So who was all in your group? I didn't make it to your group.
You did. Jerry and Pam and I were in the group.
And Sue's?
No.
Yeah, I didn't make it to Sue's group.
Oh, sorry.
So did you want us to share then?
Yes, please.
Okay, we had myself, Linda, the two Lloyds, and Terry. And we had some common themes that we really kind of summed up under do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat each other well, be helpful, be kind, be loving. And of course, we hope people would be the same back to us.
That's a good one.
Very nice. Mary Sue?
Yeah, so we landed on kindness, living with, offering kindness, living with joy, living with integrity, and being positive.
Nice. And then I have one more group. Right.
I guess I'll say it because I wrote them down. So
You're the scribe.
yeah, we had patience, truth, kindness, togetherness, love, compassion, and understanding.
So I hear love a lot going on, and compassion, all that stuff is really a key to what we're doing. And to be honest with you, the Christian values, part of what's so important about restorative practice that we started calling it restorative justice practices is the justice aspect of things. And so we see restorative is bringing back to existence something. The justice part is really feeling like you had a fair process that happens. And then the practice is what we try to do every day, is why we should know what values we're trying to exude every day. So then we can take that step back. So I put this little slide together of the why of restorative through a Christian's lens. Because when we think of justice, we can go to the old context of the lex talionis, the eye for an eye. And when you think of that initially, I know when I was younger, I thought of that as, you've got to fight back for, and do exactly what has happened to you is an eye for an eye. But really, when you're thinking of it through my feeling as a Christian, is through the restorative lenses, it's really more about restoring things to the worth that was lost or harmed, rather than causing the same amount of punishment or pain. So what do you think about this look at restorative through the lenses of an eye for an eye? And anybody can share.
I prefer that interpretation over an eye for an eye because it was always very difficult to accept the concept of eye for an eye or to explain it.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel great because wanting to harm somebody else, even when we have been harmed, sometimes very deeply, still doesn't feel very good. And that's why oftentimes when punishments are handed out, the victim doesn't feel better after that punishment has been served on the person that caused the crime or the harm, is because it doesn't feel good for us to cause pain on someone else. It doesn't help us heal. What helps us heal is restoring to that equal worth as much as we can. And so I won't get too much in the weeds, but that's part of kind of that restorative lens, is trying to make for sure that we're restoring things and healing from harm that is caused. So when we get into conversations with people, it's about taking that step back, taking that breath, so we can make for sure that we're hearing what the other person is saying without getting into conflict or a battle. Because when I talk to somebody now, I'm not trying to prove my point. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from first. My point doesn't matter unless you feel heard.
You know, Bill, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because you're stepping back and looking at it in through a positive lens as opposed to a negative lens. And it just puts a whole different flavor on the situation.
Well, yeah, and when we focus on more positive things happen. When we have positive mindsets and we expect positive outcomes more than likely happen. When we expect negative outcomes happen. We will find what we're looking for. That's what we are as humans. We will find it. So if we can try to put more positive into the world, we're going to get more positive out of the world. There are going to be hiccups because we're humans. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to live in emotion at times. But what we're trying to do is respond to things rather than react to things. When we react to things, we're doing it through emotion. And when emotion is tied to something, we're making poor decisions because we're no longer capable of truly using reason in that. So that's why it's important to do it in this manner. So Christ believes that every person is worthy and a member of our community, period. We address the needs not only that are affected by harm, but those causing harm in order to build and heal the entire community. So it's not just a person that's being harmed, but we're also trying to address the needs of those that are harming. You know, oftentimes I found with working with the young people in my families is we want to associate blame with things and want to point fingers at who is wrong and who is right. Now, there's an old Native American thought and teaching is there is no right or wrong, only balance and imbalance. So if we look at it through those lenses, how can we then put the balance back into whatever relationship or harm that's being caused? And we have to do it on both sides. We can't just do it to the people that are being harmed. We also have to figure it out with the people that are causing the harm. If we don't take that and address that side of things, things still become toxic. And again, I think Christ wants us to try to address all of it because we're all worthy. We all deserve love, and we all deserve to be a part of something special. So what is a restorative community? These are some principles that I believe it takes to have a restorative community. And community in this state is used very loosely because we can use community as our household, as the church, as the outside community or the neighborhoods that we're living in and serving through the church. So there's a deep underlying belief that all community members add value and enrich the community. If we have that as a general principle, then we're capable of healing from harm when harm is caused. If everybody adds value, that means we're all in the same playing field, that there's not a power struggle, that we all can be heard. There's a systematic effort to hear and respect all voices. That's meaning we're making it an effort of ours to hear all sides. Again, that's taking that step back. And I'm not so concerned about my voice being heard. I want to hear from your standpoint first. I found even at home, and I have a lovely life at home, and my wife knows restorative practices, but I found even at home that when I take that step back and allow Michelle or Peyton, my son, to truly express what they need to express first, everything comes down. So the excitement, the frustration, whatever might be there comes down because I'm trying to listen first and not trying to wait for my time to just jump in. The authentic listening and sharing in the community is probably the most important piece because I work with young people and they can see right through it when it's not authentic. They right through it. And so I have to make for sure that I am exuding the love and care for everybody that sits in front of me. And I truly do. And I'm truly sorry when there's harm that's caused. I'm not sorry because I caused the harm, but I'm sorry that they're going through that situation. So showing that love is the most important thing that we can do when we're listening. Because again, I'm not trying to wait to break in with my point of view. I'm trying to just listen and take in what you're saying so then I can respond more appropriately. Members speak and listen from the heart. Sometimes my staff are uncomfortable when students start crying or sharing, and I tell them that just means that it's a safe place. So if we're capable of truly speaking from our heart and people are showing emotion, we know that there's a safety there. And that's really important because if it's safe, people can share more openly and honestly. Conscious and spoken value placed on positive relationships. All of us have relationships in our lives that we can consider not so great, not so positive. I have family members that I have to put up very strong boundaries with. And I have to make for sure they understand that I love them and care about them. There are certain parts that I cannot allow them to be a part of until some things are changed. And if they can't be changed, they can't be a part of that part of my life. And that's really placing that value on positive parts of the relationship and showing how they have an opportunity to still engage in a relationship with me. And if they choose not to, that is their choice. But I've given an opportunity and laid out how important it is for these positive pieces. Decisions are made inclusively. That doesn't mean that we have to come to a consensus. It means that everybody has had equal opportunity to share. That's all that means. Inclusively just means that I'm going to open it up and have you participate in it. And that's the most important piece when it comes to this. Now I'm going to make you dizzy. There's an expectation that decisions and actions will be made with each other, not for or to by one segment of the community to another. Those are very important words, and we'll get into this here towards the end of tonight to understand what those exactly mean. So at this time, does anybody want to share or say anything about what I've covered so far or have any questions before I move on?
Bill, I think the only thing I would add is that, or say, I have a lot of training and experience in helping communities process conflict. Right. And it's the same kind of listening that that we practice in those situations.
Right.
Because you can't de-escalate conflict if you aren't being heard.
Right.
And so, yeah, this just echoes everything that I've learned in this other area. So thank you.
Yeah. And then, of course, the non-punitive responses to wrongdoing with the intent of promoting healing, learning to avoid future harm. We at Lighthouse work really hard to make for sure that we're healing from it and giving every opportunity when harm is caused for that student or person to, instead of just kicking them out as a punitive response, we engage them in an activity or response to the individual to help promote that healing. Non-punitive responses, that's the WIF. So just as a quick reflection, I'm going to put out these several things and I'll read each of them to you. There's several ones of them. So as they're coming up on the screen, I want you to take in and decide what you think connects to you. And then I think we'll take just a couple responses on sharing why that connects with you. So it helps now and then to step back and take the long view. We can't do everything, and there's a sense of liberation in that. We can do something, and we need to do that well. We plant the seed that one day will grow. We may never see the end result. We provide the yeast that produces effects far beyond our capabilities. We can forgive and ultimately let go. God wants me to love, therefore I will suspend all judgment. So when you read those, I'll take two people just to respond. What connects to you the most out of that? Now I understand there's a lot. I can connect to every one of these, but what connected to you immediately the most and why? So I'll take two responses.
We can't do everything.
Okay, Julie, go ahead.
We can't do everything, even though I try.
Right? We want to be able to be everything for everybody at times. How exhausting is that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then one more.
I was going to say we plant a seed that will grow and we may never see the end result. And the reason is, obviously, when you're a teacher, that's exactly what you do. That's what you do as a parent.
Yep. And that's what we do as faith. Everything we do as a Christian, that's faith right there. That exudes everything faith is. We may never see the end result of anything that we do, but we have to have faith that it's the right thing and that we're living that Christian life. So in the larger setting, when I do this, understand that the trainings that I do are 2 full days for 8 hours. So these are things that we get together in groups and discuss. What are churches and community-based organizations about today? What has changed over the last 30 years? Why are churches / community-based organization today the most important public institutions? What are the challenges of working with our constituents? And I put down what those examples are: elders, families, clients, congregation, etc. What's going to make the difference in their lives? So I just want you to ponder that. I'm gonna give you maybe another 30 seconds to read each of those and really think about how each of these areas have really changed and what are they about? And then how can we start being more restorative to bring back a tighter knit culture, community, and loving environment so our communities can feel more engaged even when they can't be there. When I think about growing up and thought what the churches represented in the communities, I think is a lot different than what my students today are growing up thinking what churches are in the communities. And I want to change that aspect of them to understand that these are yet another community for them to participate in that will love and care for them and are not there to judge them, but to be there to help them navigate through their spiritual journeys and really their human existences. So being clear about your practice, look, each one of you is restorative. You all do restorative practices on a daily basis. The thing is, it's implicit. So these are some questions to kind of think about the why behind it. How important is it that whoever you're speaking to understands where you're coming from? The why behind your practice. How confident are you to explain them what your practice is all about when you're talking about how you're engaging restorative into what you're trying to accomplish in life? Most times I hear from people tell me that it's very important for whoever they're speaking to understand where they're coming from. And my challenge is, yes, that is important. However, the devil's advocate part is, doesn't that sometimes come off as ego and not giving them the chance to be heard? Like you're more important to talk than the person you're speaking to. And ego, I keep bringing ego up. I see ego, and one of my board president did a book, and he defines the ego as edging God out. So when we bring in our egos to any situation and want to be heard more than who's sitting in front of us, we are edging God out. We are telling God that his love no longer matters. So my challenge to you is to identify when those times happen, so then you can stop the ego part, edging God out, and then start listening from your heart. Because again, if we listen first, we'll be able to respond in a better way. So if you're having a hard time, again, you guys are doing it intuitively, which is called implicit. Here's some noise. I don't know what that is. I hear a dinging noise.
It's probably on somebody else's computer.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what that is. So you intuitively know what works. And I promise that you're out there doing some of these things. It's just, we need to make it explicit. We need to make for sure we're doing it on a constant basis and practicing. I know many of you in this room have cooked without a recipe. Sometimes you create the most outstanding dish, and then you're like, oh my gosh, look at what I created. And then your person that you're serving this to or with, all of a sudden is like, I want you to make that again. Exactly the same way. How hard is it to do that when we didn't have a recipe to follow? We did a dash of this and a pinch of this and put it together. That's kind of restorative practices when it's implicit. We've done the recipe. It's just we're not going to remember it because it's not something we've done consistently. So doing the consistently and creating practices and common language will help you with your practice. Yeah, so explaining it this way helps kind of give it a better understanding. But again, it has to do with the implicit framework. I got ahead of myself there a little bit. I know this a little bit too much. So the explicit framework is why. Why do we want to do it explicitly? Because we want to make for sure we're consistent and we're certain, so we know exactly where we're walking with it. Proliferation. So it says of programs, but it really has to do with just us making for sure we're putting it out there. Programs are more of a conversation as a community effort. Focus on the right practice conversation. So we want to make for sure that your conversations, again, are talking about positive, giving people their voice. And I'm going to continually say this over the next 4 meetings, is fair process and having somebody feel heard. And you need to focus on what works. And what I found is when we've clarified the role, responsibilities, values, assumptions, and outcomes, putting that all together is when we sit down and we show the compassion and love, that's where we start having all of these things come out, because your values will change just slightly depending upon who you're sitting in front of. Your core values that we discussed earlier, the 4 that you identified, should never change no matter who's sitting in front of you. Those core values should be a part of who you are and how you live every day. The other values, though, will change slightly because our relationships are slightly different, and we give certain power away to those closer to us. So we have to make for sure that we're very aware of that and making this an explicit effort to know that certain people get more power from us than others. Like my wife gets more power from me than a stranger on the streets because I love her and we're in a relationship and we're trying to make for sure that we're using our values together. This is that social discipline window that I was telling you about that we get to. So this is really the crux of where we're going to end today before I give you your homework. So these are the 4 boxes in this window. And on the side, you see it goes from high control to low control. And at the bottom, it goes from low support to high support. The 2 box you see is high control but low support. The 2 box is punitive. This is where we are as a parent when we give punishment to a young person without including them, saying, you're grounded for whatever. You don't get your car, whatever it is, you take it away. So a punitive response. Oftentimes people put police officers, judges, administrators in schools in the punitive box. The not box, which you see as low control and low support, is that laissez-faire parent style where you're throwing your hands back and you say, there's nothing I can do. That's what I've done, all I can do, I'm done. The 4 box is high support but low control. This is where a lot of people in the human service industries, the teaching, the ministers go to because they want to do it for somebody when they initially get in. The problem with doing it for somebody is when you do it too many times, you enable those behaviors to continue. So we have to be very aware of how we're navigating these boxes. We are trying to get to the with box as much as possible because that's the restorative box. That is inclusive. That is asking people to participate in the conversation. And when there are consequences needed, they participate in their own consequences. So it's very important to try to be in the with box about 85% of the time. Now, understand we are going to navigate these boxes naturally as humans because we have to. We can't do everything restorative. At Lighthouse, I tell my staff, I want you in the 2 box when there are safety concerns. If there's somebody causing an environmental change that creates an unsafe environment for the students, staffs, volunteers, whoever, that is where you need to be in the 2 box. We're not trying to have a discussion. That discussion will come later. But at that point, we're in the 2 box. The not box is where, as an organization, we have tried to take people into the with box with us time and time and time again, and the behaviors continue to be negative, creating a very negative environment for the other students. And I have to think of it as holistic. So at that point, I would meet with the student and family and say, I'm sorry, this just doesn't seem to be the right fit for you at this time. If you would like to revisit this in the future, here are the steps you'll need to take in order for us to revisit this. That is us throwing our hands back. The 4 box, one of the indications that we do as an organization is our kids come to us and our parents come to us because we've built a relationship with them. They trust us. So when they come to us with a need, how will they do if I send them away to another organization to get their need met on a cold call? They will not go, they will not follow through. So how we handle the 4 box is I will make that initial phone call to say Cedars and say, hey, John, I'm going to be sending over this family. Please expect them. So they have a contact person to go to and know that I made that contact for them. So when they come back in and say, oh, I need that help again from Cedars, will you please call again? I'll say, oh, here's that name and number. You've already made contact. So instead of enabling that behavior to continue, I can just re-solidify that they've already made that contact. And then of course the with box is again, just engaging in that conversation and really just bringing them in for that fair process and that voice to be heard. These are important. Does anybody have any questions on these boxes? Because these boxes are going to be a part of your homework.
I could use a little bit more explanation. If you would give examples again of each one, because I don't know what you do. So.
Sure. So as a parent, the 2 box would be really me punishing my son. So let's say that he decided to stay up all night playing Fortnite, which is a video game. And then I come down and say, no more Fortnite, you're grounded, you can't go to the movies this weekend. It's punitive. I didn't have a conversation with him. So it's just giving a punitive response.
Okay.
Me as a parent in the not box, I would be just like, I don't care, do whatever you want to and walk away. So then he can choose to do whatever he wants to because I don't care. I'm not engaging in it. The 4 box would be me enabling stuff. So he comes home and doesn't understand his homework. So instead of helping him through the problem and engaging him with it, I do it for him. And then he just turns it in. So, or a project, I just do it for him because I get frustrated and just wanted to get it done. The with box would be saying, same project, I'd ask my son, what do you want to do? What materials do you think that we need to accomplish that? And then help him through the process and engage him in the process. So that's the with box as a parent. Does that make more sense, Sally?
Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not a parent, but yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I figured I'd use a parent thing rather than an organizational thing.
Bill, will we have a copy of that to refer to?
Yes, I can email a copy of that over to Sue, and then Sue can get it to you guys. Is that right, Sue?
Yes, I think since we had everybody register on Eventbrite, I think all of your emails are in there, so I can go ahead and send this to you.
Great.
So can you send all of the
Slides.
things he's showing, not just the box? The
I
other?
can show you whatever Bill sends me.
Okay, you bet.
So no problem. Absolutely. So here's your homework for tonight. I know I've gone a little bit over. We're at 8:02. I would like you to identify ways you're living each day through the values that you established at the beginning of this today. And then I would like you to identify and report back, catching yourself navigating through those boxes. So when you catch yourself in the 2 box, I would like you to write it down or something. So when you come back, you can talk about what it was that you caught yourself doing. Okay. And then if you are confronted with conflict, I would like you to try to take that step back and try to love and listen. And then wait for your turn. So love and listen first. It's not, I'm trying to jump in and get my point across. So if you're confronted with a conflict, love, listen, take a step back. I always tell people, take a breath. Staff come in excited in my office and want to share something. I said, okay, hold on. First thing I want you to do is take a big breath. Because when we're excited, we're cutting our blood vessels off. And so oxygen isn't getting to our brain, and we're not capable of really doing that conflict resolution. We're not being able to think clearly. So take that big breath, get a big burst of oxygen so your brain can work better. So at this time, this is your homework. Next Monday at 7, we will be back. Is there any other questions or comments or anything?
I thought it was a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we always have to start with the whys and get a basic understanding before we can jump into some principles and start really managing those principles. And again, this is normally a full 2-day training, and the first full day really is just gaining an understanding of who we are and how we navigate things currently, so then we can know where we're going to go, because you got to know where you are right now to know where you're going to go. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Does everybody have your homework?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to give the controls back over to Sue.
Wow, got the power again, huh?
I don't like having that much power, so I want to get rid of it as quick as possible.
Thank you so much, Bill. This has been a great first class, and I'm looking forward to what's going to come in the next 3. So thanks everyone for joining us. As Bill said, 7 o'clock next Monday night, and we'll see where we are with our homework. After Bill sends me the probably PDF document, I'm guessing, of maybe, are you going to do all the slides?
So would you like this first day in a PowerPoint, or do you?
I'd say send it in a PDF.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then I'll send that on to everybody. So if you don't get anything from me in the next 24 hours, Bill, let me know, and
Yep.
I'll make sure we try again to get it to you. But I think I got all your emails on Eventbrite, so we should be doing pretty good. Any last questions or anything before we sign off for today? Well, again, thank you, and we will see you all next Monday. And it's really good to see some of you that I haven't seen for a while. Good night, everyone.
Night.